All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let's stand up and get crunk. Here we go. We're live. Live. Coach Smith. Love the game 24/7. That's right. That's right. That's right. Here we go, guys. All right. All right. All right. Appreciate you guys joining Coach Smith. But love the game 24/7. All right. All right. I'm live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Going a little bit later today. And I'll get more into that why I didn't go at 11:30 today like I normally do, and starting at 2 this afternoon. But looking forward to sharing with you folks today. So whether you're live or you listen to the recording later, I appreciate you joining me and having this discussion about how we can get free money scholarships, right? We need to be looking into these things. And so I want to go ahead and get started and not take up too much time because I know everybody's trying to prepare. They're watching some college basketball, some hoops, and all that good stuff today and getting ready for playoff between the Ravens and the Chiefs tomorrow. And then we got the Lions against the 49ers. So we got some good stuff going on this weekend in the NFL and also in college hoops. Man, that game the other night between LSU and South Carolina women, man, was something to watch. Even though I didn't think South Carolina played all that well, but they played enough down at the end to pull out the win. But it was a great crowd. I'm sure it was great viewership over TV and live stream. But man, it was an exciting game to watch. I really enjoyed that the other night. Man, it's coming. It's going to be a great basketball season for women and the men. Sitting here watching Boston College when my oldest son attended college, watching the B-ball team playing right now. Hopefully they'll pull out this win over Notre Dame, which they should, with zero point 0.8 seconds left. Shouldn't be any reason why. And yep, they just won that. Had a chance with a 3-point shot to tie it up, but that Boston College over Notre Dame 61-58. But yeah, so like I said, it was some great hoops on this week, and sure be more good stuff this weekend. But yeah, the reason why I was not running my usual 11:30 today, as I said, I'm a college administrator in the financial aid office as assistant director, and today we had a outreach event for the new FAFSA. So you guys should be getting your new FAFSA and stuff done, so that you can give yourself an opportunity to get some free money. You are graduating seniors and you are current college students, whether you are just a traditional student or not, or student athlete, you still need to fill those things out. So today we had a community event here in the Wilmington area. And so that's where I was this morning from 9 to 12. So we had a pretty good turnout with those students and parents coming out and filling out and getting help with their new FAFSA. So that's some great stuff that we enjoy doing, that I enjoy doing a lot in helping folks find ways to be sure that they fill this application out, this FAFSA application out. Even though there was some delay from it with the U.S. Department of Education, they have it out there. Some of these things, once you get it done, it's still going to be in process, is what it's telling you. And I think most of them, because the schools, we haven't even received the results from it yet. The federal government haven't even sent the results out to the schools. So that may be another 2 or 3 weeks of that happening for all schools, right? So that's all schools that receive the FAFSA application. No one has received it yet. So just wanted to update you with that as well. Normally the application is out in October, but by federal U.S. Department of Education laws, it doesn't have to be available until January 1st in actuality. So October 1st has always just been great because, they hadn't changed really much to it. But now it's an overhaul, huge overhaul with the FAFSA application. And so That's why the Department of Education had such a delay in putting it back and getting it out just before January 1st by federal law, even though there was still some quirks or whatever they had to fix or repair on it. They got a lot of that stuff worked out now. But no, the application we just been doing well with it coming out in October because there wasn't much changes, like I said, with the FAFSA. But now with the huge overhaul, the federal law has always said they had to have it ready by January 1st of the new academic calendar, or new calendar year, I should say. And so they did have it available by then, by federal law. So yeah, we just been blessed to have it early. And still, so you guys, you students out there who getting ready to graduate high school, be sure you hurry up and get your FAFSA in, because schools are gonna give free money out. And when I say free money, I mean if you are eligible, per your date on your FAFSA application, if you get it in early, they're going to look at, schools, all schools, we look at the date that it was processed, because we have institutional grant money, right, and federal and state grant money. So when it comes down to institutional and state grant money, most schools around the country will use that date on that FAFSA application on how they would disperse that institutional money that they have, grant money that they have, and the state grant money that they have available. And so if you don't have an early enough date on that, that money will get used up, and it's going to be a first come first served basis on those students who filled out their FAFSA early enough, okay, before the money runs out. So that's why you want to go ahead and get that thing processed, or in the process, right, of getting completed. And when the U.S. Department of Education releases those completed FAFSAs and that are processed, so even if you have to go on what they call a verification situation, your application will still process. Even though if it goes in verification, the school may have to confirm some things and may require you to submit some things, but you still have that date on there that it was initially processed. And that's what schools will go by, your initial date of your FAFSA being processed. Even if you have to do a verification situation and send in some tax documents just to confirm if that happens. But as long as you got that date on there, it doesn't matter what happens. You got that date, you got it in early. And if you are eligible for free money, state and institutional grant money, and that date is a very early date on your FAFSA application, you have a good chance of getting that free money if you qualify, right? You have to qualify. And so for those of you who know you may qualify, your parents are not making a lot of money necessarily, or they're no longer going by the household size and number in college. They removed that and changed a lot of things. I actually do think the application is a little bit more simpler than it has been in the past. But for those students who are current college students, it's going to be a little different for you, because you were used to the old way, just like we as staff and administrators in financial aid. We've had to get used to some of the new things and changes. And I actually did the application myself as an independent student, and it happened, I was able to get through it real quick. One bit of a note, though, that everybody needs to know. On the old application, they call the D.R.I.V.E.N, data retrieval tool. You could opt in to use that, or you can manually put your income tax information. With the new FAFSA, you don't have a choice. You do have a choice. If you choose not to give the Federal Department of Education to pull your information from the IRS, then your student will not be eligible for any federal aid. They will only be eligible for a federal unsubsidized loan. So parents and students, just know, parents, you have to give consent for the U.S. Department of Education when you fill out the FAFSA to retrieve your income tax information from 2022, because it's 2 years in arrears with the FAFSA. So it's off 2022's income, not current, 2022's tax return. So you have to give confirmation on your student's FAFSA to allow them to pull your information. But one thing they will tell you on the application, if you don't give them permission to pull your accurate information from the U.S. Department, or the IRS, I should say, then your student would not be eligible for federal or state aid and things of that nature. So just be sure. Look, you're already I know Big Brother already has your information. You have a name and social security number and date of birth, and you pay taxes. And your job has account for you by giving you a W-2, so they already know what kind of income you made at the IRS, because every company has a report what they pay everybody. Okay, so they have your information. You're just allowing the U.S. Department of Education to retrieve that information from the IRS in a safe way to determine whether your student can get some of the free Pell Grant money, and some of the state grant money for whatever state you're in, and your state has grant money, and they'll base it off that FAFSA results. So that's why I said get it in early, and you got to give consent. And if you don't give consent, then your student won't be, you're making it hard on your student. And the only thing they'll be eligible for is a non-need based federal unsubsidized loan. And so that would be the only loan that they would be eligible for if you as a parent or parents do not give consent on your student's FAFSA. And so if you're married and you file joint, it should be a pretty easy process. Now it may be a little bit difficult if you were married. If a student has parents that were married but filed separate, that means each parent has to have their own what they call FSA ID, right? That each parent would have to do because you filed a separate tax return even though you're married, and each parent will be considered a contributor. And when your student goes in to fill out that application, they're going to have to put down both parents as contributors because you filed separate, and then each parent will get an email sent to them, okay, to give consent to fill out their part of the FAFSA. Okay, also when you get this email, you'll be filling out your part of the FAFSA for your student or students if you have multiple students, and then you have to give consent for each student. You can't just give consent and then it works for all of them. They haven't built that in yet into the FAFSA. So you got to give consent for both students if you have multiple students in college. So just be aware of that, right? If you were married and filed a separate tax return, both parents have to give consent. So it should be an easy process once you get the email, because your student will put both parents' names on there, and so you would be required at that time for both parents to get their own FSA ID and finish doing the FAFSA for your student. But like I said, if you were married and you did a joint return, it'll go a lot faster and smoother. But I think from me doing it myself, it seems to be a pretty good process. So that's just something I just wanted to share with you today. Why I was a little late and wasn't here at 11:30, because that's one way to get free money, as well as some scholarships, because some institutions will base their scholarships sometimes off your FAFSA results as well when you apply for scholarships. Like right now, December 1st of last year, 2023, was our scholarship application for next year. It opened up on December 1st for next year at my institution. So you need to have your student, if they're a current college student, to find out, hey, is our scholarship application available for me to apply for scholarships, to put my name in the hat for next 24-25 academic year, right? Because you got to remember, academic year calendars overlap, right? Years, right? It's not a January to December when we're talking about an academic calendar. That's a yearly calendar. Academic calendar, schools always start where? August or September, right? In one calendar year, and it rolls over because we have, winter and spring term in the next calendar year. So right now we're in the 23-24 academic year, because this school year started in January or August of 2023, and right now we're in spring term and it's 2024. So the academic year that we're in right now is the 23-24, right? And so you need to find out from your financial aid office, as well as your admissions, because sometimes admissions give scholarships as well. But definitely speak to your financial aid office at your particular institution, and whatever institution that you are planning to attend, you graduating seniors. I don't care if it's a 2-year school, a traditional 4-year school, or private, it doesn't matter. If you're a high school senior, you are usually eligible as well. I know at my institution, when that December 1st application opened up for our current students, it was also made available to those students who had admitted to my institution and were accepted at my institution. And so not just applying, you got to be admitted, right? Whether you're going to go there or not. And you don't have to, have to pay a deposit. You're just you're considering going to a specific or several institutions. And if you got several institutions you're considering, you need to find out is the application for scholarships available for you to fill out for 24-25 academic year, and what their process is for you as a new student who's graduating high school this year to be able to put your name in the hat. Now, some folks have to understand you better do this stuff early, because most scholarships at most institutions are going to go to returning students, because we want students to return and graduate, from our institutions. So most scholarships are not going to go to new students, right? A small percentage of scholarship money will go to new students. Now, for those schools, when you're talking like UNC Chapel Hill, the Dukes, or the University of Florida's, those schools that have been around, forever, for years, over 100 years, your Stanfords, your Notre Dames, all these different schools. And there's some smaller, your Spelmans, or your Georgia Techs, or your, there's some schools that have been around well over 100 years. They have endowment funds like crazy, big money. Okay. So they have a lot more scholarship money than some schools. Right. And so you guys got to understand, just cause this may be your favorite school, where's it going to put you financially? Right. What kind of position is it going to put you in financially after you graduate? So you got to consider, I need to consider the school that's potentially giving me more scholarship money, which means I'll have less debt when I graduate, when I start my career, to pay back, if anything at all. So I know you may have your heart set on a certain school, just like I tell our student athletes. You may have your heart set on a certain school, but if that school isn't offering you an athletic scholarship to make it light on your parents, then you need to maybe decide that I need to go to the school that's offering me more money for my education, right? That's on your list that you like. You're not going to like everything about where you go, even if it is a school that's high on your list. Okay, you got to think about how can I save money, because getting a college education is not cheap. But that's why I have this podcast, especially mainly for student athletes. At today at our event, I saw a young lady that's in the marching band with her marching band hoodie on from her high school, Laney High School, where Jordan went. And I asked her, I said, have you considered getting in the marching band in college to help lighten the load on your parents financially, and maybe get a marching band scholarship? Or if you're not considering the marching band, would you consider the concert band, or the there's orchestra bands. There's a lot of schools have a lot of different bands and things of that nature that students can be a part of and perform, and you could potentially get scholarship money for that. So I explained to her those schools that you're interested in, see if they have marching band, or see if they, she was like, well, I'm thinking about retiring from it. I'm like, well, don't retire from it before it can put some money in your pocket to help pay for your education and make the load lighter on your parents. You got to consider these things. Parents, you need to be talking about these things. Students, you need to be considering these things. You don't want to get yourself in a wad of debt for your education when you could have gotten some scholarship money in something that you're gifted and talented in. I talked about that last week or Wednesday on my podcast about, you got to man up, you got to woman up, you got to grow up and make some decisions. And it may not always be the decision you want to make, but what's the best decision, right? What decision makes most sense for me financially when I'm talking about getting my education? So what makes most sense? If I'm your dad or your mom, the one that's giving us more money, free money that I don't have to worry about paying back, or you don't have to worry about paying back when you finish school, that's the one that makes most sense. So then let's figure out, hey, if there's several schools that's close and running, hey, with giving me some money, maybe they're just a couple of thousand, a few thousand off. Okay, that's not too bad. But you need to make sure you look at things from that standpoint. What's going to make me come out ahead when I graduate with this degree with less debt, right? So that was just something I want to talk about a little bit today when I said about free money and scholarships, because there are opportunities out there if you're on top of your stuff, right? If you're on top of what you need to be doing, there are opportunities for you out there, young lady and young man, to get some free money. Be it grants. And you guys got to understand, financial aid consists of federal, state, and institutional grant money, right? Federal, state, and institutional grant money. That's financial aid. Scholarships, right? Grants and scholarships are free money. And when I say free, it means it's not money you have to borrow and pay back to the U.S. Department of Education or to a private lender. So whenever you hear the term grants and scholarships, that's the free part of financial aid. The part of financial aid that you have to pay back would be the subsidized and unsubsidized federal loans. The subsidized loan is considered a need-based loan. And what I mean by that is the subsidized federal loan is not accruing interest while you're in college and during the 6 months after you graduate, or if you go 6 months and you're not in what they consider halftime in at least 6 credit hours or more, because halftime is considered 6 credit hours. So if you fall below 6 credit hours in a 6 months time period, they're going to start billing you for your federal loan money that you borrowed. But definitely once after you graduate, you have a 6 months grace period before they start billing you for your loans, whether you got a subsidized federal loan or unsubsidized federal loan. But the subsidized federal loan is a need-based loan. And the reason why they say it's a need-based loan, the interest that is accruing on that loan, you're not required to pay it, and it's not adding up towards your principal amount of the loan money that you borrowed over the 4 years if you had to use some while you were in college. A federal subsidized loan. The federal government is paying it on your behalf. And that's because it's a need-based loan that's based off your parents' ability not to, because their income is not at a certain level. And so you may be eligible for that need-based federal subsidized loan. And so if you did borrow any money, even if your parents had to borrow some money, it would make more sense because the interest rate for a student federal loan is less than a parent borrowing a federal parent plus loan or a private loan. So always advise students and parents, hey, even if you have the ability, parents later on to pay it, to help your child pay it back, it's best to get if you are eligible for a federal subsidized need-based loan, use that. Allow your student to use that if you have to, right? And it also help them, with their credit when they, start paying back on the loan after they graduate and do a good job of not missing payments. They're going to come out with a high credit score. So when they need an apartment or need to have a car or when they need to buy a house and they've done good with paying back on their federal subsidized loan, have a good history, or they paid it off, they're going to have a pretty high credit rating score if everything else is good when it comes to credit cards and all those other things. So that's what a federal subsidized loan is. And that's also financial aid. And now the federal unsubsidized loan is not a need-based loan. Okay, so the interest that's accruing on that loan during the time you're in college, if you borrow it all 4 years, it is accruing. It is adding up additionally to your principal. So if you don't need an unsubsidized loan, don't use it. Okay, but it's still better than your parents borrowing a plus loan on that amount of money, because freshmen can borrow up to $5,500 in federal loan money, and it could be a combination of both the sub and unsub loan together, because you'll never get all of that money all in a subsidized loan, but you may get it all in an unsubsidized loan if you don't qualify for a need-based subsidized loan. You could get it all in an unsub federal loan. But for most people who are eligible for the federal subsidized need-based loan, they'll get a combination of both the sub and unsub at $5,500 as a freshman, $6,500 as a sophomore, and then $7,500 for your junior and senior years. That's the most you can borrow as a student. If you borrow any other money, your parents are going to have to co-sign for you for a private loan with, the Sally Mays of the world and Earnest loans and different people of that nature. But those are private loans based off your parents' credit score, credit rating. And so usually those interest rates are still going to be higher than the federal loan interest rate that a student will borrow, or even a parent borrowing a federal parent plus loan for their undergraduate student. And like I said, federal parent plus loans, those are financial aid. Even, like I said, the loans are considered financial aid, even the private loans. And so we have what we call cost of attendance that each student has for in-state and out-of-state students, whether you live at home or live out on your own. Each college is required and university is required to have a cost of attendance, COA, for whether you are freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And those things can be different values depending on what your major is, especially if you're in a nursing program, things of that nature. You may have additional costs that a student that's going for a business degree won't have, because you have to have scrubs and stethoscopes and different things like that when you can do your clinicals that you have to purchase. So usually a student budget, cost of attendance budget for a nursing student is going to be a little bit higher than just your traditional student going for a business degree or, accounting degree, those kinds of things. So I just want to give that information because that is free information. And FAFSA is what it says, free application for federal student aid or federal student assistance. And so get that in because it's helping you get free money. And the good thing about having student loan money, in case you do have to do it, you may not have to do it every year. But the thing of it is, it's not going off a credit rating for a student. They're automatically eligible as long as you fill out your FAFSA application and it gets processed. You're eligible for, for a loan. Every student is eligible for federal loan money if they need it, if they do the FAFSA application. And if you get in a situation where you have to go in verification and you have certain documents you have to turn in and submit to your financial aid office, get those things in ASAP before your bill due date comes up for every semester. And also be aware, sometimes they will charge health insurance. And some schools make you waive it if you don't need it and show proof that your parents already have health insurance, have you on it under their health insurance. So your student accounts office, or your business office or your bursar's office, they should have, or your health department office on campus, they usually have a waiver form. Most of it will be done online that you can submit, so you're not charged like almost $2,000. It could be anywhere from $1,500 to some maybe $14, but usually I say like around $1,400 or $1,500 or more for per semester, sometimes, or per year. So you want to be sure the deadlines for waiving that so you can remove that cost. And so, like I said, I tell people, be creative about your meal plans. You don't have to get the most expensive meal plan or the most expensive dorm room, right? So that brings down your cost. But like I said, the free money, get the FAFSA in, get it in early, get things done, because you get your name put in the hat, for some of that free money. If you're eligible, you should also be applying for scholarships in your community, your civic groups, your churches. Some of your parents may have opportunities for scholarship money. I know my wife worked at the hospital back in Florida, and she didn't know until I said, hey, check and see if your hospital gives your students, your children, any scholarship money. And my youngest son just so happened to volunteer there for 2 summers in a row. And I said, hey, they might give some money. And they did. They gave a one-time like $500 or $1,000 scholarship to the employees' children for education. So sometimes you may not know you have that parent, so you need to check that out. Okay. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit before I get on some things about sports. Talk to you about the free money and scholarships. But like I said, you need to do everything you can. Apply for many scholarships. It's all about the law of averages. It's the same thing when it comes to scholarship for athletics. You have your part to do, and it's about the law of averages. So if you don't put your name in the hat early enough, right? If you don't get yourself exposed early enough, okay, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. You're going to be late where you could have gotten something possibly where you want it to go and to help you where you want to go. So check, you students have jobs. Check with your Chick-fil-A and all of them. I know they have scholarship money a lot of times, in some of the grocery stores that some of you guys may work for and work at. They have scholarship money. I know Publix here in the Southeast and Florida and all up this way here in North Carolina as well. They give scholarship money. So you need to be asking. You have not because you ask not. That's what the word tells me. And so if you don't ask, you won't get it. All right. And, then you have the FastWeb, FASTWEB, fastweb.com is another scholarship search engine. You need to start like in middle school with your kid and setting up a profile, and parents, you pretty much need to run that and help them when they're in middle school. But by the time they get in high school, especially in their sophomore, junior, senior years, they need to be doing that. And you need to fill out as many of those. They'll help you build a profile of your interests and what degree you want to pursue and what part of the country you live in and those types of things. And then they'll take that information from your profile and start matching you up with scholarship that you could potentially apply for. And I always tell students, a lot of people give up applying. That's why sometimes they don't receive any scholarship money. You can't be a person that gives up. So that's why I say, if you build a template of several essays that you may have to write for scholarships, instead of rewriting stuff over and over again, write you a good 3 to 5 essays. They don't have to be long. 3 to 5 essays, on a specific topic about your family. Maybe you had a grandmother that meant a lot to you. Like myself, I lost my father at a young age. And maybe you have something that you can write an encouraging letter about, how you lost a parent or a sibling or something of that nature, and how that encouraged you to want to pursue your degree that you're interested in, right? And so sometimes with those types of things, even for admissions purposes, you want to use something that, the same thing that you use for admissions possibly to get accepted. Because some things with the admissions process, it's not always about your test scores and GPA. If you're right there teetering on the line to whether they could say yay or nay, but you wrote a touching essay, an encouraging essay, and because you're doing some volunteer work and those things, so you need to do some get your kids into volunteering, things like that touch people's heart when they're sitting there in the admissions office and they're reading your admissions application, and they may say, man, she's not right there or he's not right there. It's totally with the GPA that we like. His test scores is pretty strong, but man, did you read her essay? Did you read his essay? Wasn't that touching? Wasn't that encouraging? Right? See, this is what you get with Coach Smith with Love the Game 24/7. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. This is what you get. That's why the call to action that you need to do is you need to be ready to pay and buy and purchase this 10-week digital course. So I'll drop these diamonds on you about and encourage you about what it is, your strategy, your blueprint, right? To help you find the means to help you pay for your education. There is no excuse for any reason why nobody should not receive some sort of assistance at some point during your 4 years. It may not be every year for 4 years, but at some point during the 4 years, if you hustle, if you grind, okay, and you have some purpose, right, man, you can find it. I had a student back at one of my private college I worked in Florida, and she was really good student, very smart. Her parents, I don't think they were U.S. citizens, but she was, girl worked her tail off, bright as a whip, and very good student. And I preached her and told her, like, when she was a freshman, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And she did it, right? And I told her, I said, on average, when you get those emails from FastWeb, you need to apply every week for about 10 scholarships every week. Put your name in that every year until you get something. And lo and behold, I think it was around her junior year. I know it was around her junior year. I think maybe her senior year, but she got like 2 scholarships. I think one was like 12,000 and one was like 10,000. Okay, but she worked as a student worker in our financial aid office. She also was a rescue. She worked because our campus was on the Gulf, on the water. She worked for the boat rescue and things of that nature. On certain nights and weekends, she would do that. The girl still maintained like a high GPA, almost a 4.0 average, taking full load, working like maybe 20 hours a week in the financial aid office. She followed the script and did what I told her to do. The strategy, this is the strategy. This is how you get it. You remember her coming off and said, oh, Mr. Jeff, I've been doing what you told me to do. And I finally broke through and got some scholarship money. It was huge. Okay. Huge for her to get these 2 scholarships. But it's about law of averages. It's about not having a no quit, not accepting no. I'm doing it until I get yeses. I'm going to learn what I need to do from the no's until I get me the yeses, right? One day I'm going to try to get Mark Dominic on here and when he was a scout before he became the GM for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he'll tell you how I used to, knock down his door and he would tell me no, he wasn't going to work me out. Okay, whatever. I'm still going to show. I would show up. And he, I wasn't a pain in the butt, but I just, hey, I was respectful. I was professional. I had opportunity of playing pro football with the Houston Oilers prior to that. And I just, hey, man, you're not talking to some scrub, and I always passed the eye test because I was always in shape, but I wasn't going to take no for an answer, and he would, every time I would go see him, every couple of weeks, a few weeks, I would go by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office. And he was an area scout. I'm like, hey, man, I'm just waiting for you to, decide on, hey, when you're going to give me an opportunity to work out. 2 years in a row, they worked me out. I got the opportunity, and he and I, are close today, and so I'm just saying how even in that can build a good relationship. So now that I work with my partner, who I told you about that works with Love the Game 24/7, GMB Sports Management, Garrett Blair, who represents my son in NFL. Um, you know, we've had some other athletes in the area, and Mark Dominic was the GM. And when I called Mark Dominic when he was a GM, and Jeff Smith was calling about an athlete that Garrett Blair with GMB Sports Management Group was representing, he would answer the phone because of that persistence that I showed him, that no quit. That down the line, it got some of the guys that my buddy represented opportunity to try for the Buccaneers when he was a GM. But when I would call, or he would say, "Oh man, are you familiar with this kid from St. Peter, from the Tampa area? Are you familiar?" If that kind of thing. Sometimes they would ask. But there was a young man from my area that he was really interested in, and when he knew that I knew of the guy, man, when I would call, he would answer the phone, and that's what it's about. And because of that, it's helping make opportunities for other people, right? And so, I saw, I want to get on some of my football things, because I know some of you young guys out here, you're wondering, sometimes why you aren't getting the looks that you're getting, at the next level for college to get you a scholarship. And I just heard Coach Tatum say this the other day that I follow, a great guy with elite football out of Georgia, who does a lot of good things with kids and getting a lot of kids in college and scholarship opportunities down there in Georgia and around the country that go to his camps. But the thing is, you got to have a no quit attitude. You got to be sure you do things early, just like I mentioned about the fast and getting in early. Get your name in the hat, right? Start reaching out to these different things and resources that might get you some money. But just like some of these student athletes, I tell you, if you don't do more than one sport, as Coach Tatum shared on his recent story on IG, I'm like, man, you preaching to the choir on that one. I've been saying that for years, and it's not always the student athlete's fault. Sometimes it's the coach's fault, because you got some of these coaches that want to just have that student athlete be sports specific. Get out of that mentality about being sports specific. Get out of that mentality, right? You can be sports specific and do more than one sport. My mindset always was that I knew running track helped develop me to be a better football player, to be a great football player. Okay. And I'm not saying basketball and those other sports don't help, but there's something about track that would develop you to be a better basketball player, to be a better football player, to be, I know for offensive linemen, a better, in wrestling helps offensive linemen and linebackers, right? Because of what? The hand movement and the things you got to learn, DNs, the hand movements and things you got to learn, wrestling and being flexible, and track teaching you how to stretch. Now, I'm not going to give it all away, because you need to sign up and partner with Coach Smith with the 10-week digital course, right? So we can dive deeper into this. But this is what you're going to get. This is the kind of information and more you're going to get, through Coach Smith and Love the Game, 24/7 with my partner, GMB Management Group, with Garrett Blair. This is our student athlete arm, and I'm in charge of that with GMB Sports Management. And so that's what spurred me to get Love the Game 24/7 off the ground and do this 10-week digital course that I'm going to put out there. I'm going to give more detail here in another week or so. I'm going to give all the information. All right. When we're going to start it, how much it's going to cost, what kind of discount is going to be out there for folks. And one thing I'm going to share, but I'm not going to share right now, but it's going to be something that's meaningful. There's going to be another benefit on how it's going to help some athletic programs when we get multiple student athletes from a specific high school that sign up with my 10-week digital course. All right. I'll drop that information in a week or so when I give all the information out about it. Right. Because I'm not trying to make this where no one can afford it. I'm going to make it to where people can afford it, and that you get this 10-week digital course, and that you get this information, right? And that you partner. That's what you need to do. You got to partner with people who really, you can vet me, you do whatever you need to do. I'm not out here to break people's bank. I'm out here to help people find the free money for their education, to make the lighter load on their parents and yourselves. Because if you have a talent or a gift, it's not time. There's a small window of opportunity. Like I told my son, when I would teach him and have them play baseball, I wish I would have had him run track, but both my boys were good in football and baseball. So, they did do two sports My youngest decided he just wanted to be strictly academics, and he did well enough to be able to help himself out, where he's not in pretty much low debt coming out with some of the things that I've learned and I knew about. That's why I said I wasn't going to do a 529 educational plan. I had my own 529 strategy of doing that. Instead of investing and putting that money, I'm investing money for myself for retirement down the road. So I invested money in them that was going to directly relate to them getting scholarship money, free money, to where it wasn't going to cost me during the 4 years they were in college and break my bank, and also not have them go into debt. So there's a strategy, right? There's a process to this stuff. Okay. But like I said, you student athletes and these, these, I know these coaches sometimes pull on you and they just want you to do basketball. And to me, you as a coach, you're doing your student athlete a disservice by doing that. To me, it's very selfish. And to me, as a parent, I would find and go somewhere else where there's a high school coach who believes in allowing your student athlete to play more than one sport. Because I'm telling you, track and field can do a lot of developing for, I don't care what sport. I don't care if you're a volleyball player. There are some things you can do in track and field. I'm not going to reveal it all right now, but there's some things you can do, I'm telling you, to help you in your specific sport that you want to get an athletic scholarship in. Okay, it's good to do more than one sport. And track and field is one of those sports that works every muscle in your body when you're pumping your arms and have to run full speed or train for a certain track event that you're doing. And because you're, a really good basketball player, there's some things you need to do away from basketball that's going to help you become a better basketball player. And then on top of doing that, you still work some of your basketball skills, right? Like go in a garage with the lights out in the dark and learn how to dribble without seeing the basketball, without watching yourself, like you're dropping your head to learn how to dribble without looking, and learn how to see the basketball with your hands and feel it without using your eyes. Let your hands become your second pair of eyes, because you just know how that ball is going to bounce, because you've been in a dark garage since you've been in middle school dribbling the basketball with the lights out and making mistakes until you get it down without even seeing the basketball with your eyes, but you see it and feel it with your hand, because that basketball has become like an extension of your body, an extension of your hands. And it almost just feel like it's natural and normal to you because you've worked it and you put the effort and time in, all right, to be a great dribbler. And if you're going to play basketball, you got to have some handles. Okay. You got to understand the game. Just like football, you need to go watch some video. Okay. It's no different than football. In track and field, you need to watch video, because some of you guys in football, the reason why you're not fast, because you don't know how to run correctly, the proper way, and you haven't built up your muscles. You can't be fast if all you ever do is train for football and you think you're going to be fast. It's not happening. I'm just telling you right now. You can't be sport specific and then think like football, you need to be fast, or baseball, running bases, and think you're going to be fast, or soccer. I remember one of my high school kids about 8 years ago. The kid was a really good soccer player, but he was a beast on the track. He was a beast. He was a 300-meter hurdle, I think, state champion for us in Class 3A. And I don't know if you know Chaminade High School down in South Florida, my high school where we lost the state championship to. That kid that's the number one recruit. I think he is wide receiver, like 6'4". The kid is a 300-meter Florida state champion, 300-meter hurler. So that means if he's a 300-meter hurler state champion, he's probably pretty decent in the 100-meter. He may not be the best in the 100-meter, but he's probably can compete in the 100-meter and the 200 meters. All right. In the 400-meter. Okay. In the 400-meter race, in the mile relay, will make a man or a woman out you real fast if you got the heart to do it. And so you use other sports. All right. Because you're working other muscles that you may not work, or you're building up other muscles that you may not build up. And then student athletes need to learn how to lift, right? Because sometimes you need to give the body a rest, right, from football, not just the banging, but how you lift, okay? There's a time when you need to lift heavy and light. There's a way to do that and build up muscle and strength and size. See, you want to add weight, muscle weight, not fat, okay? You want to add muscle weight, and there's a way to do that. And I know how to do that. I understand how it works. I was taught well about how to do that. And there's a way you got to go about doing that. But there's times where you got to do another sport to help build up muscles, right? And muscle memory and all these different things, right? So even though I may be in track, it doesn't mean, because every year from seventh grade, I did football and I ran track. And then sometimes I played basketball in there. But even during track season, I went to spring football. I wasn't going to miss football, but I wasn't going to miss my track practice, right? Now, when we had track meets, you know, there were certain things I didn't do in football. I didn't do contact drills and things like that, but I did everything else. And usually by the time track season is winding down, spring football in Florida was usually picking up, because you have to do a certain number of days, a few days before you can put the pads on. And so by the time spring ball, because they were already doing lifting, and I would do some lifting, but not like I would for football during track season, because I got really into my lifting once track season ended, and when spring football ended, and we were getting ready to end the school year and go into the summer. That's when I pushed it with the weights, right? With lifting weights to get ready for football season. But track season, I did a little bit of weights. Of course, being in football, and we had to do some lifting sometime, even during the season. You had to do certain lifts, to keep to keep yourself in shape. So, and then when football season ended, I may have took a week or so to rest my body and do certain things, but stretching and all those types of things, because I know I was getting ready for track season, right? And then once track season, I got going to track, I didn't just jump in there a while. You got to build up to it, right? There's some things you got to build up to, all right? And so by the time track season was winding down, spring football was starting up, right? And so I made sure that I went to football and put the pads on and would do certain things, but some things I wouldn't do the real contact drills that much, because I was still in track season. But I made a point to get my butt to track practice and get my track workout stuff done, so I can get over to football, right? So I made a point, hey coach, soon as class is out, I'm coming to track to do my whatever running I need to do, and then when my running was done, I will hop my butt over there and get over to football, because I'm not trying to get my position taken because I'm missing practice. I wasn't about to let that happen, right? So that was the other thing. It was all about pride and respect. That's just how we grew up in Florida. I'm sure there's some other places as well. Texas, California, and Ohio, and Pennsylvania, New York, Jersey, some strong states in football, and even Nevada, some strong states in football. But with our weather in Florida, that's just what we did. And so I wasn't about to miss football practice just because it was track season. But I respected the fact that I was a fast guy and I had opportunities to go to state and all that, those types of things. I wasn't going to go out there and get hurt by getting hit doing contact drills. But I would go out there, learn the plays, run through certain drills on air that we had, that weren't hitting drills. And the coach respected enough and knew, hey, I know some of you track guys out here, don't get into hitting drills, but you can go through all the other stuff, But man, once track season was over, wow, I'm full go. I'm full go in football now. Track season's over. Okay, because I wasn't gonna miss the spring football game when football recruiters were coming in, right? And the cool thing about it, sometimes during track season, and recruiters will be coming to visit and seeing spring football practice. I'm over in track, and they're like, "Oh, where's Jeff Smith and so and so and other?" They see us right there running on the track. You know what they're thinking about? Oh wow, this cat is running track and playing football. Okay, now I'm really interested. And he got his grades and test scores done by his junior year. Oh yeah, I'm really interested. Oh yeah, and it wasn't just me, it was other teammates, but I was probably one of the more heavily recruited guys in my class at my high school. But when them college recruiters are coming on and saying, man, this guy was over here running track, or you see an offensive lineman over there working, over there throwing a shot, putting the discus, man, that's huge for a coach to see that a kid is excelling, right? Even for basketball coach, seeing the kid is excelling in multiple sports at a high level, and even possibly getting recruited, for another sport. That makes it even more, appealing for coaches to recruit you in your sport, in your specific sport. We had some girls, man, that were beasts. They were like undefeated, had never lost a meet other than state. Sometimes for some other reason, man, they got to state and somebody get injured or something like that, but they would be right in the hunt to win. They were undefeated, in the track season. They get to state and stuff happened sometimes, but that's the other thing I just want to share today on top of talking about the free money, right? How to get the free money and scholarships, right? If you got a gift or a talent, like I said, there's a small window of opportunity, and it's always about giving yourself options, opportunities, right? And how you do that is because you're playing more than one sport. Okay, give yourself options and opportunities. So before you say I'm not going to be doing something or I'm not interested in this, you better think about that. And because you got to consider what your cost of your education is going to be if you desire to want to go to college. So if you're serious about college and you have a gift or a talent, you better think about the consequences of what kind of financial situation would this put me in. And so you got to use that small window of opportunity, because it's not going to last long. You're not going to be able to play that sport but for so long. So use it to the fullest. So it gives you a kickstart, right? It gives you an opportunity, to go places, see some things. Okay, so don't be so quick to say, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore." Okay, when you see how much it's going to cost you to get your education, how much debt you're going to have, and how much you're going to have to work hard to pay those loans, or the tough situation is going to put you in, you will reconsider and wish you would have taken the time to do that sport or to play that instrument. All right, so that's my spiel for this weekend on live. So once again, I appreciate you guys joining Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7. And so for those of you who join me live, appreciate you joining me. And for some of those who will see this full video that I'll put out on YouTube, and I'll be putting other pieces of it out on TikTok. So be on the lookout for that. Me sharing the YouTube link and seeing things out on TikTok for you to go out and watch this message from today about the free money and scholarship opportunities. But like I said, your call to action is you need to partner up with Coach Smith when I release all this information and detailed information about how to partner, right? What it's going to cost and the benefits and all the perks and things that you're going to get, even the one-on-one opportunities for Coach Smith to talk to you. That's your call to action. You need to get involved. You need to make sure you purchase this 10-week digital course with Love the Game 24/7 with Coach Smith, so that you can get vital information, crucial information that's going to help save you from going into major debt for your education. That's what you need to do, and why you need to sign up with Coach Smith and Love the Game 24/7. Okay, you need to be sure you do everything you can. You exhaust all resources, okay, to help put you in a good place. So when you finish that degree and get that career that you want, an opportunity that you want, that you start out with very little to no debt at all. Okay, that's the goal. All right. So I appreciate you guys joining me. Have a good rest of the weekend. Enjoy the playoffs. Enjoy college basketball. Them women, right? South Carolina, Dawn State, that's my girl. All right. And coach there, LSU, and those women and all of it. Man, just eat it up, man, and enjoy. And love you guys, and take care until next time. Wednesday, 7:30 p. All right, Wednesdays. And most of the time it is going to be on Saturdays at 11:30, all Eastern time. If anything changes, look out for stories or IG messages or TikTok stories, or whatever, giving you updates on things. Okay, guys? But until Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, have a good and safe week. Blessings.